Hello, and welcome to another evening of Aderjaeger. Tonight we have an almost full house. Back after a long absence is Tyler playing Zygmunt again. Say hello, Tyler.
Hello.
Hello. All right, then. Last week the party had fought off some rather devious Waldschrott for reasons they never really uncovered. But they've been urged to move forward as the Order of St. Hubert is distraught at the quickly decaying remains of the strange adder that they'd found up north. You are finally, as the next morning rises, on what would be considered almost the Pilgrim's Road to Adershield. For your profession, Adershield is literally a place of legend. It was conquered and said to be built in the remains of a giant adder that once filled the mountain valleys. Though whether these are true is hard to say. Adershield is a booming town, you know that much. But I doubt any of you have been there before. Adershield is not a central trade place, but it is a stronghold in a sense, surrounded on mountains on all sides, with several major trade roads intersecting, and several new roads having been built out of. Adershield is effectively Aderjaeger's Mecca, or Messina, more accurately. It is a place of the crusade, if you consider what Aderjaegers do at crusade, which I'm sure several of our party do. But as the next morning rise, the Order of St. Hubert is looking worried. All the brothers are standing around and they've cinched up as tight as they can, but the smell from the beast that you've been dragging, unfortunately, carries with the morning breeze right into your rooms. There's probably not that much you could reveal from this body except, well, the lack of armor. But that's not for you to decide. You've made a decision, you have given it to the Order of St. Hubert, and they intend to take it back to their abbey, which is just inside the city walls of Adershield. Is there anything you'd like to do at Nagold before you all depart?
How many pairs of pants do I have?
You have two
Elena.
pairs of pants.
Alright, can I hang Elena before we leave town?
With
How's our
her
food
pants.
stock doing?
Only with justification.
Wasting game time on pants?
No, that doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
I'm good then.
Okay. I mean, I could say you found another pair of pants, but only if they get to be MC Hammer pants.
Did that happen last time?
Yes. That's why she has more than one pair of pants.
I did in fact give away the pair that was questionably soiled, though.
Yes. So I guess you have two then.
But in any case, no more time on pants.
Okay. Zygmunt, as the Einfuhrer, you obviously had to take a little bit of a rest. I mean, such a long trip. Is there anything you'd like to do or catch up on while you've been sort of letting the rest of the party take care of certain things?
If I remember right, Zygmunt was also a little bit concussed from the last time. So he's probably recovering from that too.
I would assume by now you'd be quite all right.
Yeah,
Quite
so
a bit of
he's
game
fine
time
now.
has passed.
He just fell asleep for a really long time. It was also probably just running a lot of administrative work, making sure that the Order of St. Hubert was getting along okay and figuring out what he could learn from them along the way. I guess, how's our food stock doing? Are we pretty well set?
Food stock is good. You would have learned last night, however, you're out of medical supplies or running very low. You're out of stock, directly you're out of elixir, specifically.
Right. Yeah, so Zygmunt will go to Jurgen, I guess, and see if there's any way that we could stop in and kind of quickly refill our supply.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can, because we went to the one spot in town and bought all the stock that was available.
Oh, we did?
And then used it.
And used
Well,
it.
okay. That solves that problem. Well, we'll just have to make sure nobody gets hurt on the way to Adershield.
Or
Did you hear that?
ambushed, that kind of thing.
Or what?
Or ambushed,
Oh,
that sort of thing.
Right, yes.
Yeah. That'd be horribly inconvenient. So let's go to the map.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I could do at this point that would.
All right.
I think I had to mention on my character sheet that at some point Zygmunt would have gotten an armor plate.
Yep.
If we had a place that could have done that.
You would have definitely had a chance to do that in Stuttgart before you left.
Okay.
I believe that was the last place you were with the party, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you have about a day's journey from Nagold. Actually, never mind. You have about 3 days' journey from Nagold. But considering how far you've already gone, that's not too bad. That is, of course, if you choose to go by cart. If you go by river, it's only about a day and then probably a good morning's hike.
Well, how much would a boat cost us with all of our gear?
Probably about 100 Reichsgulden.
Oh, really? That's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I
a
think it's
lot
worth
of
it.
stuff flowing to Adershield. Adershield produces a lot of Aderjaegers, and it takes in a lot of resources. Leather, metal. You'd have a pretty easy time getting together with a convoy of resources going that way. And in Adershield, those things are produced into goods or, well, quite literally shaped onto parts for Aderjaegers. And then they go about and do their thing. They don't produce a lot, so there's not a lot heading out of Adershield, except for people, of course. But a lot of resources are definitely going in. And the river route from Forsheim, Kahl, Nagold, and then into Adershield, originally iron from Kahl, fabrics, textiles, and leathers from Forsheim, weapons from Stuttgart, all flowed down the river the way you came. But now even larger groups, collected convoys coming from all those individual towns are heading towards Adershield. And though the rivers are not as wide, they're fairly swift flowing. So it'd take about a day and a half.
I think given the state of the party and also the state of the body that we're bringing in, probably the fastest route possible would be desirable. Also, I'm scared what we might attract with the smell of this thing traveling by road.
It is a concern, and that is actually a concern the Order of St. Hubert would mention to you. The brothers, especially Brother Hubert, is very concerned about what you might encounter if you decide to walk for those 3 days.
Then yeah, let's get on a boat.
Okay.
But it's got to be Boating McBoatface.
No. There's no Boating McBoatface on dock, I'm sorry. You'll have to walk.
Alright, well, guys, I tried. I made the effort. We're going to have to walk until our feet bleed.
No, there is a boat, but there's no boat by Boating McBoatface.
What kind of crap a port is this?
A trade port.
And it doesn't have Boating McBoatface.
Does it have Shippy McShipface?
It does have a Fairy McFairy face.
Yeah, I'll take the off-brand. That'll work.
What about Floating McFloatface?
Well,
Bargy McBargeface?
there
Bargain
is a
bin.
sign that says trust Bootgeist, but I mean, I don't know if that's what you'd like.
Oh my god.
There's a meme that I didn't catch.
I need to translate this, apparently.
Bootgeist. What I love about German is that you can make any word if you just combine nouns.
What is der Bootgeist?
Bootgeist.
Boot.
Bootgeist. Bootgeist.
Bootgeist?
Bootgeist. G-E-S or Gesicht. Hold on.
It is the spirit boat.
Geschicht.
It was
Boat
a ghost
spirit.
boat.
Yeah.
That sounds like it couldn't go wrong. Let's do it.
Is it like a ghost tour of the river?
No, it's Gesicht. Sorry, I mispronounced it. It's boat face in German.
Okay, there we
Oh
go.
my
Shut up.
god.
And that's fine.
Boo.
Way too long on that pun. Sorry.
That's all right. It was good. Let's get on the boat, Kazish.
Please pay the man 100 Reichsgulden and let's get on this boat.
Yeah, let's get on. Here is your. Let's do the role play. Here is your 100 Reichsgulden, sir of nameless NPC
Oh my
state.
God, I'm
Can we get
fiery
boat?
Jurgen.
You're getting no points for your
Oh,
NPC.
I tried. I didn't try.
All right,
at
I'm gonna let him redeem himself. Go ahead and describe the boat.
Christ.
Go
You're-
on. Collaborative world building.
I mean, if this
It's
is
got a face.
if this is a shipping boat going to Aderjaeger, then it's going to be one of those, like you said, a large sort of convoy meant for carrying goods in. So I'm picturing a nice large float, or barge rather, but instead of just being a plain old-fashioned barge, he's got one of those God, what's it called? Normally it's like a mermaid on the front.
Yeah.
He's got one of those, and it's just a big old face.
Okay. Is it his face?
It is his face.
What's his name?
Charlie.
It's a good German name.
Good, strong. German name.
Thank you, Jay.
Von
Char-
Charlie.
Charlie, the captain, of Bootgesich shipping services, gladly takes your money and welcomes you aboard. He says, "If you need anything, just look for me, Bootgesich." And he points to the face on the front of the ship.
Oh my god.
I'm too stoned for this, says Frida.
How are you still stoned? You took that like
Well-
12 hours ago.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a small creature with a fucking slow metabolism. Damn you,
I'm not stoned
Jurgen,
enough.
to
Don't you
hell.
know how to dose that?
No, I didn't dose it. Elena did.
To be fair, yeah, Elena just shoved the whole thing into her.
I don't know how to
Feeling good.
Zygmunt just kind of rubs his temples and then just gets on the boat.
Well,
Jurgen rubs the
there's-
bridge of his nose and starts loading things up onto the boaty McBoatface.
There's some trouble loading your carts, and especially the giant sled of the rotting thing on board, but you notice there's probably several tons of material on this and several other boats that have all been tied together, forming really more of a flotilla as it goes down the river. The weather's fairly nice. It's still a bit of chill in the air because spring has not entirely settled. Though the sun is out and it's warming up as the day goes on. The ice is almost completely cleared off the river. The small little bits of floating ice you saw on the trip down are pretty much nowhere to be seen. And it seems like you should have a nice, safe trip down the river. About 16 hours later, as you've been kind of trying to make your way, comfortably between the giant bags of charcoal and ore and other material that are being transported, you realize there's really not that many people here for this much goods. There's not many people, or at least doesn't seem like there are that many people to handle all these resources. In fact, your little coterie of porters and guards is probably the largest group there that isn't employed by the captain himself.
I guess, yeah, Zygmunt will kind of notice that and seek out Charlie.
Charlie is at the rudder, And actually, instead of he's not really steering necessarily. He's more keeping the ship stable as he kind of yells back and forth between the various guides and captains of the ship that are all kind of sort of tied together in this flotilla as it moves with the current.
It seems like your crew is a little short-staffed, Captain.
No, we regularly do this run. Honestly, most trades just sell them things to the merchants at Nagold, and then we take it downriver. And there's a small little harbor port there. It's not actually connected with Aderjaeger. It's about a couple hours away, but it serves sort of as a what's the term? Warehouse, I guess you could say.
So you offload your goods there, and
Yes, trade exchange, I guess you could call it. You have merchants from Adershield, some of the smaller communities around there. They all go there and barter for this or that. The various monastic orders, the Benedictines, the Hospitaliers, the Order of Saint Michael, Order of Saint Hubert, which I see you've got some of their ilk with you. They all buy from the port, and we get a small percentage. Well, I mean, we sell the goods, but we also tend to get some return on speedy delivery. Doesn't do much good if you have nothing to sell there, right?
isn't it risky to run with such a skeleton crew, though?
Not much attacks us on the river. If an adder attacks us, well, we just jump out the boats and go with the current. They're not very fast, typically. To be fair, not many adders tend to make their way this far into the mountains. Fairly steep walls around here. Not so much cliffs, but the bigger ones would stumble. And the smaller ones, well, they don't seem to be bold enough to attack us on the river. Besides, with this many Aderjaegers in one place, well, let's just say adders don't tend to survive long if they make it towards this way.
Suppose that's a good point.
Too many people willing to or trying to make a name for themselves. Too many weapons, cannons, great siege towers on its walls. I mean, you'll get one every once in a while. They come down from the north, try to slip in from the south, but the south road is pretty heavily fortified nowadays. Where'd you all come from? Nagel's not much of a regular community for Aderjaegers.
We're on our way back from Stuttgart by way of Forsheim.
Oh. Heard some bad stuff's happening in Forsheim these days. That's nothing compared to Call, I suppose, though.
Yes, we saw. Regret not being able to pry further, but, well,
Oh, you passed by Call?
Sigmund just kind of gestures towards the rotting sled. We had no time, but yes, we did pass by.
Were there any survivors by the river? All I heard that there was a great fire, but
I don't know. Were there any survivors by the river?
no, sorry.
None that we saw, unfortunately.
Where would all those people have gone? To Waldstadt, perhaps? That's a 2-day walk for most of those civilians.
No, this is retrospective investigation, but did it seem like it was kind of like that clear-cut thing in the forest that we passed by when we passed by Call?
Yeah, it was completely razed to the ground.
Okay.
There was really no significant standing structure. Even stone structures were torn asunder.
Okay. I mean, there was not even a stone structure left standing. It was complete devastation.
What could have done that? I mean, adders do lots of things, but fires? And this time of year, it wouldn't have been a natural fire, would it?
Not likely. Adder are more random in their destruction. This was almost a controlled burn.
Controlled? Are you saying it's the work of man? Do we have rebels among her?
It's hard to say.
He kind of looks off to the side, thinking, well, I'll miss the trade with Call. We could usually make a good 12 or 15,000 Reichsgold out of the ore that we transported from there. We'll be sad. Especially, well, I suppose with the way things are or have been, you can't hold on to things too tightly, can you? But what of Forsheim? What has happened there? No, of course, I'm talking to you and out of character. You weren't here.
Yeah, this like what happened in Forsheim? I know there's some. asshole
Does anyone
family.
else want to jump in on this conversation?
So I heard
I'd
you guys
have-
just kind of like went through, right? Like you just kind of passed on through. You guys. Didn't
Oh
do
no,
anything?
no, they pushed through the crowd and everything, and then got on a boat.
Did you murder some hatters or what?
No.
We ran away.
Well, we had no idea where the Hatters were, and there was riots in the streets, and everything was burning.
Oh, what did we do to this town?
We didn't do shit. The Hatters did it. The Hatters apparently the guardsmen had made a push into the Hatters' territory. The Hatters struck back. The city caught fire as a result.
And we just bailed.
That had not our problem written all over it.
That basically they walked enough into the city to hear what was going on as civilians are literally streaming out of the city in terror. Got on a boat calmly and went south.
I mean,
Came to the next burned town, went, nope, no time for that, and continued south.
we've got this corpse has a time limit on it. We've got an escort
We got
quest.
places to fucking be.
We've got an escort quest
We
with a
haven't
time
invented
limit.
refrigeration yet.
I tried throwing some salt at it, but the Order of St. Hubert guys got real upset with me.
I'll tell the captain that.
Oh. That sounds
Not-
bad.
I'll leave out the stuff about the salt. But
Okay. That sounds bad,
I
but
don't know. There was
guess
a lot of salt
anything
in our
that-
statement.
anything that helps the Order of St. Hubert, I guess, must be good for everyone. They've been quite giving of their knowledge, though they don't seem to, well, they seem to have no trouble studying the beasts, but I've not exactly seen them at the forefront of any such act to control them, either.
I figure the more information all the Aderjaeger have, the better off we'll be in the long run.
What I don't get is, it's supposed to all be heretical, isn't it? Mankind should not worry themselves with the works of the devil, but we now have multiple groups now that are developed, that are been formed just for those reasons. The Order of St. Michael almost flaunts their knowledge. Uses the parts to build great war machines and whatnot. The Order of St. Hubert just squirrels it all away. Great abbeys and libraries.
It's not really our place to judge where they or how they treat this information or what they do with it.
Yeah. I'm just a simple captain. I'm not here to... I never wanted the life of an Aderjaeger, so I guess I don't have a place to say. It just seems strange that they tell us that any such knowledge will be rewarded with punishment and death, and then the church itself can obviously do no wrong when it comes to studying it. But perhaps I've said too much.
Well, if it's by order of His Holiness, who are we to question?
Yes, yes. Well, have you heard much news of the siege of the siege of Rome?
I have not.
Oh, well, I heard the Pope is doing well. He has apparently controlled 30% of the city so far, so I suppose he'll control most of Rome again fairly quickly.
Should I be
No,
aware
out of character, you would not have known about this. So you're welcome to ask any questions.
Rome is in civil war?
There was a disagreement between the governor and the Pope decided that Rome belonged to the Vatican and decided to lay siege to Rome. A difficult prospect considering that the Vatican is actually inside of Rome, but His Holiness was able to raise quite an army and surround both cities. Personally, it's all seems like political nonsense. I'm not sure what good his controlling Rome will do, but if it's the work of God, then it's the work of God.
I suppose it's very... seems like a waste to me, with the other things facing humanity at this time.
Well, yes, Italy is suffering badly from adders, especially after all their trade lines between Sicily and the mainland were destroyed. Some gigantic beast. Undescribable. Some ocean horror. I mean, that's a fairly shallow pass. You'd think that it'd be an easier thing, but apparently something has taken root there and they cannot get a ship through. Order of St. Michael has started to build great warships, but their last expedition yielded no further results. I suppose it's a benefit we still have connection with Britain, but who knows how long that will last.
Not even the waters are safe.
The waters have never been safe, my friend. Have you done much sailing?
Well, no.
My family used to own a great shipping company all along the Mediterranean. But when the adders came, there was no point. No ships could move. Trade became more dangerous. The sea itself was bad, but now giant beasts, some bigger than land masses that we came from. Not much money to be made when all you do is lose ships. It became a purely military place. And even then, foolish, foolhardy. Suppose there's something to be said for river sailing, though. Much calmer, more peaceful. Storms are less... well, we lose less goods this way, I suppose. We do have adders to deal with, too. What brings you all this far south, other than, of course, your rotting carcass you have there? Any other reasons?
We feel we should make ourselves known in Aderjaeger as a reformed company.
Oh, you reformed. What happened before?
An accident.
Ah. I assume this isn't your full company then. Or not what it once was.
Not nearly 1/10 the number.
Oh my. That's quite the devastation then. I assume you're going to the guild house to reforge your group?
Correct.
Well, I wish you luck. I've heard the bureaucracy there is, well, endless, but I'm sure it will help you in the long run. God be with all of you. I really do hope you find what you're looking for and perhaps even make some profit.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the conversation, Captain. I'll leave you back to your work.
Well, it shouldn't be much longer. Another hour and we'll be taking into port. So, if there's anything you all, out of character, if there's anything you all would like to do on the boat before you get off, do so now or forever hold your peace.
I got nothing.
Okay. I was more directed at everybody else, but
Yeah, I got nothing either. Sorry.
Likewise.
Okay. Reaching the port, you're kind of held back. They want you to. They'd rather you either help unload the ship or wait until they unload their goods before they let you off. As trying to get your wagons through would just slow everything down. But after 2-3 hours, you're finally able to exit. And you're sort of welcomed by a small wooden fort of some sort. Large stone warehouses, but the outer protective wall seems to have been a secondary concern and is not proceeding as quickly. In a dozen years, this might be a respectable little merchant's town, but now it's mostly a storehouse on the river. As you sort of go through town, you can see there's several merchants that are offering wares, weapons, people buying and selling small
Medical stock.
things. You'd have to look for it, but currently, no, you don't see much of that. This is mostly raw commodities. There's adder blood, but it
We
doesn't
probably need to
seem like...
restock that, right? Didn't we end up using that so that I can't remember character name. Someone didn't die, right?
Brita. But no, you all don't have the facilities to convert adder blood and black bile to elixir. Right now, you need someone to do that for you.
Yeah, we don't have
You
any
certainly
bile,
could.
right?
You could
Any
certainly
bile.
buy adder blood if you want.
You mean adder bile?
No, adder blood.
Oh.
There's no bile currently. Bile
we
is
can't-
far rarer than blood. Sorry.
Yeah, so we can't make anything without bile, though, right? We can make
No.
poultices with
You can make
something.
poultices.
Can we?
You can-
Yes. Can we
You
buy
can
some
buy
poultices?
raw material for repairing things. You can search for other goods. But you're also heading towards Adershield, and most of these items will be there too. You just have you probably have a better chance at negotiating the price down here, because this is more of... People here are willing to make deals. Adershield may not be as forgiving.
So Zygmunt will kind of survey the group that went out that night, and does anybody need any repairs made? You all look like you went through hell.
Probably wouldn't hurt to get things for repairing, weapons and armor. It's quite a bit of combat. So if the raw materials are there, we might as well stock up on these.
Okay. Yeah, leather, wooden materials, iron, steel, etc. That's all there. Tools as well that might have been broken. This is really where Berthold would probably find the materials he needs to practice his craft, and could probably begin putting together what you need to repair from the other night, or at the very least to shine up the armor if it didn't take any damage.
It's also out of character. That's one of the abilities that I have as well.
Okay.
So we can take advantage of that too as needed.
So you can certainly do that. Yes.
I don't know what the state of everyone else's stuff is. Mine, if at the very least, my shield needs to be repaired. It took a beating in Woodward.
I mean, I'm good, but I'm all for stopping to pick up supplies. That'd be good to have.
All right. What would you like to get?
Steel, or the goods in order to make steel for repairing and so on. I actually don't have. It's now occurring to me. I don't have the tools with which to perform the repairs. So if that's something that's handy, we should grab that
You're
as
cutting
well.
out.
No, he's good on mine.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's good.
Huh. That was weird.
You can certainly buy a lot of tools. A forge is something that would be a little harder to find. But hammers, tongs, various accoutrements, not difficult at all. But a forge and an anvil, really the two heavy-duty things for blacksmithing and armor smithing, those they would not have on hand.
I'm thinking more we should be getting the materials so that when we get to Aderjaeger, we can, use whatever is there. Maybe just rent that space or those tools with the
You have no trouble with. Most major towns you can rent space like that, especially artisans traveling. Iron will cost you probably about a Reichs gold per pound. Good quality iron, which you can then convert to steel once you have access to a forge.
How are our carts looking? Are they looking okay, or are they in disrepair?
Your carts are definitely showing signs of wear. I wouldn't say that they're going to fall apart. But remember, you bought your carts in fairly low state.
Right.
So they've never been improved. So,
Like maybe some spare wagon wheels.
Yes, there are definitely wagon wheels. There's even wheels for the iron cart that you have.
I feel like that wouldn't be a bad investment, so we can bring this thing home.
Okay. It is about 10 Reichsgold for a regular wagon wheel. And it is 1,000 Reichsgold for a armored
That sounds
wagon.
about right.
Well, it's effectively a steel wheel.
Yeah.
Now, you do still have some resources. Let's go to horse cunning. Not a lot, though. You have 24,000 gulden.
I mean, I'll kind of pass that off to our accountant, but I'll also, let him know it might not be a bad idea to invest in some replacement wheels for our wagons.
No, that's a great idea. What about? No, yeah. Let's get some replacement wheels. What were the prices again? Because there was the armored wheels and then the regular wheels.
It's 10 for regular wheels, and it's 1,000 for armored wheels.
For one wheel or for a set?
One wheel.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So that'd be 4,000 for armored wheels.
Right. Mm-hmm. For new ones. You don't need new iron wheels right now, but it would not be a bad investment.
I mean, we do have the armored cart, and we want to keep that going. Yeah, all right.
We could get spares.
Let's. I mean, what are you guys thinking? Are you thinking a full set of 4 spares, or just like 2 spares, just in case we crack one wheel or
I think
another?
just like 2, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we need to replace all of them.
Well, yeah, and we don't need to replace any at this moment. So for the most part,
Right,
they would just be taking up dead weight in the immediate future.
Right.
Okay, then
2
yeah.
seems
heavy
reasonable.
The iron wheels are very heavy, so yeah, they do definitely take up space. Okay, so 2 iron wheels, and how many regular wheels? You have 2 regular carts and an armored cart.
Probably want to get like 4 regular wheels.
4 regular wheels, okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 2,040. So 22, 324, right? Check my math. Did I even put you all on the right page? I hope I put you all on the right page. Oh,
I'm on horse counting.
for some reason it just reloaded Roll20 for me.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll make a note and we'll fix that later. 2, 4, 4. No, 22 and 3, 4, 4. There we go. That way we don't lose track of that. All right, well, they don't have any trouble giving that to you. They sort of, your porters load them up, and they're kind of strapped to the side of the iron carts because, again, just as they are made of of steel, these tires are also massive. They're designed for off-road and designed for carrying, well, a significant portion of what would be considered a living mountain. So they're not tiny wheels by any stretch of the imagination. And suddenly I'm missing a page. Hold on. Damn it. There it is. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to do in town? Or are you ready to move on to Aderjaeger?
I think we're ready to move on, aren't we?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay then.
Because there's no apothecary in town to pick up elixir.
No.
Yeah.
We'll just move your little track down the river. So y'all can actually show your current progress. All right. It'll take you about 4 hours to go from this little merchant town to Adershield proper. But it doesn't take long for you to actually see the town. But an hour left in your journey, you crest what is a high mountain pass and can look down into the valley. And what you see looks like a giant black snake curled around itself, once in a wide loop and then once in a smaller loop on the outer side, forming very effective looking, but non-human built walls. Have to accept that these look like human walls, but it's part of an adder.
Big old adder snake.
Yeah. Human towers have been built, and on top of them sit just achingly tall spires that at first you think are cathedral tops, but as you get close, you can see they're actually metal-encrusted trebuchets with their weights all the way at the bottom, stowed vertically. These massive siege weapons could probably hurl stones for nearly a mile or further, especially elevated as high as they are. As you get closer, the grand scale comes into view. This may be the largest human settlement any of you have laid eyes on. Larger than Hamburg, larger arguably than any town you've encountered in the south so far. And spilling out past the walls are small shanty towns, merchant villas, and just human settlements that have built up around the road when there was no more room left in the town itself. As you walk in, people actually throng around you. Many of them begging, some of them calling out and, shouting, "Hooray for the heroes," and holding out cups and shaking them for your alms as you approach. But towing what you are, many of them disperse rather quickly. The smell is overwhelming, to say the least, at this point, especially as the midday sun begins to rise. The outer gate is what could best be described as a kink in the armor of this adder. A massive plate has been wedged sideways, forming an angled pass that leads into, well, you not know. Only darkness is visible from here. As massive as it is, you could probably hold all the population of Forsheim just within this city gate. That's how dark and cavernous it looks. But you can hear the sounds of people moving about in the town on the other side. The black walls that once contained the flesh, the heretical flesh as you well know it, are spotless and clean, and the walls look like they have endured hundreds of years of abuse and attacks. Evidence of the great battle that formed this town right here at the bottom of this valley.
So Sigmund will kind of perk up and be like, "Brother Hubert, where is your abbey located in all of this?" And he kind of just gestures.
Brother Hubert is too busy sort of shooing away the guards. Brother Stephen turns to you and says, "It's in the center. It's near the center of town. We have a large library there. But you have to pass through the gate first. It's not a direct route. And as you sort of walk underneath the shadow that is this looming wall, probably 100, 120 feet tall, the sort of domed snake-like form of overlapping gigantic plates, you notice that the gate doesn't actually go through. You see sort of small openings where you can see maybe a person or something could pass through. But as far as something you could get your wagon through, unfortunately, no luck. As you sort of go in, the guards motion you off to the side, and it seems as if you need to follow a second road that is actually in the wall itself. Sort of small blue lamps hang at regular intervals overhead, providing dim but functional light within the wall. And people scurry about. Small market stalls have even been built up, and you hear the sounds of artisans and workers, people baking bread, squalors' homes and whatnot that have been sort of pushed away into little holes here and there. Children run between the now person-sized cracks in the armor plate, but these are not regular paths. These are just signs of people moving about a city. You travel for probably what feels like 20 or 30 minutes, a sort of slow conga line of convoys and other things until you reach a second gate that seems to open up into the town. Whether this was by design or a necessity of having to build these fortifications into the gigantic plates of an adder, you're not sure, but you know that it would certainly slow down any significant armed force. No cavalry or heavy wagons or siege equipment could have passed through that first gate. Only a person, and certainly not a large group of persons. And no adder, of course, could make it that far in. Having to travel around, you realize now that that is probably the city's best defensive asset. It is just not easy to enter Adershield. As you reach the gate, there's a group of guards that approach the wagon, and they stop you because, quite honestly, the smell has gotten many persons' attention, and you actually have several people following you now. In fact, several of the brothers of St. Hubert have had to turn away multiple people who have tried to buy the carcass off you just as you walked in. Or at the very least, you assume that's what they'd offered, but they had been sent away with curses and other kicking of sand and other discouragements as you moved through the sort of in-wall highway that was built here. Guard approaches. I'm assuming the two people at the front would be Jurgen and Zygmunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Sounds right.
I mean, if someone else would rather be at the front, please speak up.
I'll be up front.
Okay.
I just feel bad because I've done like all the talking so far.
All right.
That's alright, you're catching up.
All right, halt. What are you bringing into the town?
Research materials for the Brothers of St. Hubert.
Oh, not the bookworms. Seriously? Is it rotten?
Jurgen just
Slightly.
kind of wiggles his hand in the air.
Is it a... Oh, the captain's not gonna like this. Captain! One of the guards walks away, and there's a small little guardhouse, and out comes a few officers. Captain, they're bringing in a rotten... I don't know. Looks
It's
like a
an
giant
adder.
fish of some sort. An adder? It's not an adder. There's the plate.
It is and Jurgen would look at the Brothers of St. Hubert, the second recorded instance of an adder without plate.
Pah! You're pulling my leg. And at this time, the order of the three brothers are actually too busy trying to keep the crowd from pulling pieces off of the carcass at the back to really come to your defense.
Guards, would you help the brothers with that? Fend off the crowd.
Now listen, sir, we don't need anyone selling false things and bags of meat here. There's too many shards, we'll have beasts running around through the market town.
We're not interested in selling it. We simply wish to take it to the Order of St. Hubert and leave it with them.
Is that Brother Stephen with you?
I don't know, is that... Are you Brother Stephen?
And Hubert.
Yeah,
and
yes, I'm Brother
Pedro.
Stephen. Hello, Captain Vega. Yes, hi. Oh, God. Yes, he would bring that back here, wouldn't he? You've
two know
fallen
each
in with
other?
a strange sort, you know that, yes? He sort of leans into Jurgen.
We're Aderjaeger. It's all a strange sort.
Oh, you're one of them too, huh? Well, I assume you'll be heading to the guild house right after.
The guild house?
You don't know of the guild house. You are an Aderjaeger, yes?
Yes.
Alright, well, all Aderjaeger business is handled in the guild house. They've organized there, and I imagine that they'll always be there arguing about this, that, or something other. Here, let me show you. If you go down this road, sort of the large L-shaped building, you'll know it because there'll be far too many people there with weapons and muscles standing around, and half of them will be ready to fight. I tell you, if it wasn't for the fact that you created this town, I wouldn't have any of you here.
If you're so disdainful of this place, why do you protect it?
My family lives here. I haven't got much of a choice. Besides, this is a nice quiet place to work. At least when the Aderjaegers aren't burning half of it down or fighting in the other half.
That doesn't
Or when the
sound-
adders attack the wall.
That doesn't
Or when the
s-
shard beasts attack the butcher's market. Oh yes, that was Tuesday, wasn't it?
Are you quite done?
I suppose so. Oh, just don't cause any trouble while you're here. Already had to hang 3 men for disturbing the peace today. I don't want 4. Or how many of there are you? 6? 6 more of you? I don't have enough rope. I'm running low.
How are you running low on
Actually, you're
rope?
running high because
might
everybody's
are
strung
manners.
up.
and he immediately puts a mouth over or a hand over Rita's mouth.
Puts a mouth over Brita's hand.
Yeah.
Oh god! Oh, I thought he was gonna say a mouth over Brita's mouth. I'm like, I didn't consent to this shit.
You'll have to
Anyway.
forgive our friend. She's a little touched at the moment.
Whatever.
You
Move
want to
along.
talk.
Get that rotten meat out of here. I tell you, you're going to be very popular with the dogs on Course Street. And he kind of shoos you forward and covers his nose.
Alright, I roll for dog kicking.
Okay, you're on a cart, I'm assuming. But when the time comes, you can roll for dog kicking.
Alright, cool.
Okay.
Dog squashing under wheel.
Just roll the cart over a dog.
Anyway, the library is at the center of town. In the yellow building. The guild hall is the red building. And this particular area right here is known as the pubs.
The pubs.
The pubs. This whole area right here, and let me enclose it and I'll give it a color so you can see it, is probably the most tangled, woven maze of bars, pubs, brothels, and whatnot that any of you may have ever seen in your life.
Oh, I thought you said pump. That makes it so
No.
much. Okay.
Pubs. It's probably 8 stories tall. Multiple buildings hanging out. Probably 24 signs of establishments hanging out from every which way in Eve. Because it's almost a madhouse of building, trying to form the most prominent, or at least yell for the most attention to any Aderjaeger that passes by the central square. Houses are painted when houses are stacked on top of each other and painted in bright fluorescent colors, or at least as brightly as possible. Many of them have silks or flower petals adorning their sides, drawings of adders, muscular men, women standing barely dressed in the windows, anything to draw a passerby's eye. Directly next to them is the meat market, which, as you walk by, is still apparently cleaning up, because the smell of blood and the standing of guards having cordoned off the area is significant. Inside, you can see the bodies of multiple shard beasts. Here, hold on. I'm trying to cordon these off so you can see them better. That's the meat market. There you go. It's quite obvious because there's lots of major views into it. These are relatively lower houses. Some fairly well-built stalls, but nothing significant. It looks like an area that may have had to been burned down once or twice in order to control situations. It is certainly much newer structures than a lot of the areas around you. And in the center is a metal obelisk, quite literally celebrating the defeat of the adder that they used to then form this town. And there's a plaque on it that states specifically that all the metal in this obelisk is the steel of the weapons that were required to defeat it. Standing probably almost 120 feet tall, you can imagine the thousands upon thousands of swords and polearms needed to melt and forge into a structure of this height and size.
So if Zygmunt is allowed to, he's actually going to put a hand on it. Just kind of.
You're allowed to. It's standing there, and you notice it's not perfectly forged. You can still see the shape of where everything was brought together and forged somewhat, but it's subtle. From a distance, you wouldn't realize that it's multiple pieces forged together. But as you get closer, you notice parts of it. A hilt here, a ricasso there. Just little things that probably shouldn't be. Discolorations of metal where they use a different metal for this or that. All the wood has been burned away, but all the metal has been folded in together to form this sort of, I wouldn't call it modern art because of the time setting, but in a sense, yeah, it is a sort of a deconstruction of the weapons.
Avant-garde.
Yes. But it stands as a very striking and bright pillar in the city. You're actually at the lowest point of the city. And unfortunately, this is also where most of the sewers run underground. And being so close to the meat market, the pubs, and the Order of St. Hubert, it is perhaps not the best smelling location. Slightly up above from the center is, of course, the Guild House. It sort of sits on its own little hill, which forces most of the sewage to drain around it. Whether this was intentional or just some strange quirk of the landscape is unknown. Order of St. Hubert's Library is a massive building, almost looks like a mansion. The two sort of lobes of the building are connected by a central courtyard that's gated off. And as you get closer, Brother Stephen, Brother Hubert, and Brother William all rush forward, and banging on the gate, they call to their orders to come let them in. But when the abbot comes to the gate to let them in, he does not look pleased. He's an older man, probably in his mid-40s, completely bald, no remaining hair on his head. A small, what could pass for a goatee if it was anything more than a scraggle of hair. And very, very bushy eyebrows. which all seem to sort of highlight his disappointment in the brothers as they arrive at the gate. Does anyone want to try to be close to hear what they're saying, or do you feel that it would be best to stay back?
Lena would be nosy.
At first, the abbot doesn't say anything. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, all Zygmunt would do is just kind of lean forward on his horse. He's not gonna.
You'll
Like
get,
sneak up.
then you'll probably get bits and pieces of it, but you might not get the whole thing. I'll leave to you what you hear and what you don't. The abbot at first doesn't say anything, and the brothers start explaining what great find they have found before the abbot just cuts them off. It says, "You have been gone for 3 months. You have you have sent us expenditures for almost 3,000 Reichsgulden, and now you return with what? A pile of meat?" The brothers say, "No, Abbot, this is one of those rare adders that has no plates. It was found underground. It was able to breathe fire." And the abbot looks at them and says, "And did they prove this to you, or did they just sell it to you on the side of the road?" And the brothers look back at you and they say, "No, we saw the mine. We had parts of it. We've experimented with it. We have great samples of this fluid that it produced. It spontaneously combusts." The abbot does not seem as willing to believe as his underlings, and sort of motions for the guards to open the gate. The abbot says, "Fine, bring it inside, but if this turns out to be another one of those sewn meat puppets that you found in Forsheim, I am kicking you out of this order." And Brother Stephen looks rather sheepish and motions for you all to come inside the gate.
I'm going to try to have a frown off with the abbot as we walk by.
Oh my god.
Okay, this is an opposed roll. Roll.
Okay, what do I roll for frowning?
Color.
Intimidation, aggressive, forceful.
No, I'm not actually
Color?
trying to intimidate him. I'm just trying to out frown him.
But it's
that-
forceful.
Yeah, aggressive.
Color.
All right.
Do you have a
You fail. Nope. Abbott wins on ties on frowning.
Ah, darn. All right, well,
Sorry.
he's the older man. He's got more experience in frowning.
You can feel the eyebrows, the sort of like wiry of it, just sort of grating at your soul as you pass.
I'm uncomfortable.
You should be.
Rita says in character she wants.
The abbot frowns more. A seemingly impossible task, but one that is sort of superhumanly available to this
He
abbot.
rises to the occasion.
Elena claps a hand on Jurgen's shoulder and says, I didn't know you also had some family members in the Order of St. Michael, or Order of
Hubert.
St.
St.
Hubert.
Hubert.
Yeah.
Yes,
My joke has
mouse
lost its
is on
effect.
upside down.
I have a very large family. Take your hand off me before I break it.
Just lift her hand up and just kind of give this like, whoa now, uncalled for.
If Zygmunt's allowed to, he's going to try and catch up to Brother Hubert. And basically say, I hope that this spat with the abbot isn't going to put our arrangement in trouble.
As you know, I am the junior brother here, but Brother Stephen assures me that the abbot should be quite impressed once he begins to, assuming there's enough of the specimen to investigate. But there have been some past errors in judgment, I suppose, that may not have us in the abbot's best light currently.
Oh
You
boy.
actually brought a meat puppet to the abbot?
It was
Is
a
that-
very convincing hoax. Unfortunately, it was not a semi-animated tentacle of a former shard beast. It turned out to be a sack of meat and goat skin tied together with several live cats inside of it. But the effect was very convincing at the time.
Did it meow?
No, it mostly screamed horribly.
Elena's making notes for whenever she decides that she wants to get into the scam business again.
It was expertly sewn, though. I was able to write a 6-piece treatise on the sewing of and knitting of flesh afterwards. But some would say that was a punishment. I would say that advanced medical science significantly. If it, wasn't having to be done instead of getting 20 lashes on the center spire. Unfortunately, someone accidentally also put some shard dust in it, and well, sadly, the cats and 12 researchers didn't survive. But it was not our fault. We were not there at the time. We simply brought it in out of error, and how were we to know that particular group of muscle fibers would cause the problem it did?
Elena kind of
Who indeed?
It's like, and you're the Order of St. Hubert, right? The order that is supposed to be filled with knowledgeable folks, including those with common sense. Yes? Just verifying here.
Hey, I've been confused by pussies before too.
Out of character. Knowledgeable does not mean it's also the order of common sense.
Also,
Oh, no,
Jurgen's
I
gonna
know
go
it's
ahead
in
and
engineering
slap
school. I know
Brita
that.
over the back of the head.
Actually say that out loud, or was she just joking?
That was super in character.
God.
Yeah, she deserved that, and she knows it.
Well, I mean, we are as educated as anyone can be safely in the habits and anatomy of adders, but unfortunately you have to understand that we are still susceptible to the weakness of other humans, including glory and well, perhaps we reached too far thinking we'd found something of value. You have to understand it's very hard to, well, climb the chain here until you're, well into your 40s. Outside of the order, knowledge such as this is typically condemned and we would be executed for having it. So our options are generally to succeed or die trying. He kind of looks worried.
Quick question out of character. You said age 40. I felt like the average lifespan around this time was like 20.
Average lifespan is somewhere in the 30s, but yeah, then we had elixir and it allows people to survive heart attacks.
Okay, right.
And
Never
women
mind.
to survive childbirth.
And bullet wounds.
And bullet wounds.
Carry
Who
on.
got shot?
Me.
She got shot twice.
I got shot to like a 9.
Yeah.
I'm
And passed
feeling
out.
Real good now, though. Don't you worry.
I saved her. It's all good.
You
Well, I
did
suppose-
nothing.
I suppose it's a good thing you have us to vouch for you then.
Well, the abbot doesn't like many Aderjaegers. You have to understand, we kind of have to live and deal with them on a daily basis, and some of them are, well, they may be great commanders or fighters. Well, they're not the most holy of people, I suppose you could say. Most of the brothers here are scholars, educators, researchers. And it's very hard to go out and have a drink or get something to eat and not have our drinks thrown upon us or be hustled at cards or other games.
Aww.
We're super holy.
Well, that's good. That's good. But I'm afraid the abbot only is interested in what we've brought. And oh my, I guess he's going to open it now. And as you As he kind of says that, Brother Hubert kind of pokes his shy face out from among you and looks at the abbot as the abbot just sort of unceremoniously starts cutting the ropes that hold the
Zygmunt goes to cover his
carcass to the
nose.
body.
Yeah, Elena does the same thing.
And with sort of a great pull that's almost like a performer trying to pull everything off a table and try to keep the glasses in place, he rips the tarp off the front, and the body is exposed, and now it is not restrained, sort of flops diseased and rotting on its side. The abbot seems unbothered. The flies that came in, though, do seem to raise a tick of his eyebrows as he stands there looking at it.
Be careful. It's could still combust.
Yeah.
The abbot sort of walks around the body, not touching it, his arms folded across his chest as he kind of looks at it. Well, it's not sewn together. You have that much. What of the other samples? What did you do with the plates?
There were no plates.
Then how does it remain upright? Did it move as a worm?
No, it moved,
I see the legs, but
Lizard.
I'm assuming those are vestigial.
nope.
Without
Fluid
plate, how
sacs.
does it support itself?
Fluid sacs.
Fluid sacs. That would be extremely unusual. You have proof of this?
I mean, if you would like to try to cut into it, but I wouldn't recommend it. As said, it will catch fire.
I
What is
got
it?
it.
We drained most of the blood, right?
Yeah, you drained the blood. Whether it continues, and you remove the organ that produces the fluid. Or as much as you consider it an organ.
Right.
Do we know that we got the right organ?
That's always the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The GM said it, right?
Yeah, the GM would never lie to us.
Nope.
Says the other GM that's lied to us.
Which, speaking
Ah.
of which, adders with organs is a thing that's new, right?
No, adders have many
Well, I guess they have
vestigial
livers.
organs.
Yeah, okay.
But none of those organs serve the same purpose they would have if they were a traditional biological thing.
Right.
There are adders that have proper stomachs, but they produce the acid. We don't know why. Or some actually do use the acid. In fact, any defense mechanism you'll find in nature, you can also find on an adder. So bombardier beetles, spitting cobras, venom, all possible things that are capable on an adder or have been encountered on an adder. However, most of that is, or seems to be, sheer dumb luck. There doesn't seem to be much direction onto how adders form or why they develop the way they do. It just sort of seems to be a corruption of flesh and biomatter that produces the adder itself. And their efficiency by, mimicking, or in the words of the Pope, mocking nature, is what makes them effectively so heretical. They're effectively mocking God's design. If that makes sense.
No, that's fine. What was the
But-
name of that crystal that it was feeding on? Calcinite or something like that?
Yep, Calconite.
Calcinite. Okay.
Yeah.
But Zygmunt will kind of pipe up and say, "This adder took root in a calcinite mine.
Calconite.
It feasted on the crystals. It seemed like it was
It was a copper mine?
corrupted its blood, made it flammable."
Copper. Curious. What color was its blood?
It was green, wasn't it?
Green. Yeah, green.
So not blue. Curious. The abbot seems generally interested at this point, realizing that this is not just, a bunch of goat bladders tied together with cats inside. And begins to sort of quietly pace back and forth. Okay, bring the samples in at once. We'll put at least teams 13 and 12 on this one. I'd like it fully dissected. You say it had no plates?
No,
None.
the flesh was interesting, almost like leather, but was able to repair itself by careful application of heat.
And did it damage itself with its own fire?
Didn't appear to.
No, in fact, it seemed to mend its own injuries with it in some way.
But it had no plate, yet it walked upright?
Yes.
That's very concerning. This is something we've not seen in a long time. The first recorded evidence was, well, it was mostly a rumor. We never had any physical evidence of it, but there were stories of a white beast that walked upright. Relatively small adder by comparison, long arms. They called it well, it was a, you have to excuse me, it was some local being of death. The report came from Britain. The Celts up there. What was it called? They said it screeched. Do you know of anything that screeched from Britain?
Banshee? Is that Britain?
Yeah. Is that in
Banshee.
character or out of character?
Yeah, that was in character, but not asking about the Britain. I just said I don't know the fucking geology of my myths.
Geology of my myth.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
I do. But,
Are you sure you're not high out of character? Were you like method
I'm
acting?
fucking tired, and I've been playing primarily a stoner character for like the past month. I think it's just infecting me. I'm sorry.
Yes, the banshees. Apparently tall, long, fleshy body, no plates, had some semblance of a face and walked the moors, they said. But we never were given any proof. The order has a small monastery in the British Isles, but, well, as you know, communication across the seas is difficult, if not impossible. So we have not heard if they'd been able to follow up on those claims. But this is curious. You say it was isolated. How did it get down in the mine?
I think it climbed down.
It seemed as
Climbed?
if it had landed there. There was
Or
a
that.
there was evidence of a tunnel from its initial impact.
Interesting. So it fell from the sky, and just by chance, instead of burying itself in the dirt, it hit a mine, huh? And sat there alone for all that time?
It seemed that way until some miners
Broke through.
through into the chamber.
Curious. Well, yes, certainly. I'm curious, have you been paid for your find yet?
We have not.
We had
And
made we had bartered with your three brothers.
the abbot looks over. I hope they didn't promise too much.
Well, and Sigmund will turn towards Brother Stephen.
They promise more than the monetary offers.
Abbot, a word, Brother Stephen says, shyly. Brother Stephen, please tell me you didn't do what I think you did. But it was necessary, Abbot. You have to understand how rare this find is. You did not promise them the consecratum, did you? Well, not so much in words. What did you promise them? Well, I did promise them something of equal value to what the other potential purchasers were doing. And how much is that? 100,000 Reichsgulden? If static electricity between eyebrows and its generation had been invented at that point, the abbot would have discovered that superpower as his eyebrows twitched rapidly. And almost at an inhuman speed, a hand flew out and slapped Brother Stephen across the face. You absolute fool. You have promised this to them? Well, we needed to secure the find. Brother Stephen, if you ever do once again emerge from the rack of books that you'll be copying until the end of time, I'd like you to understand that you will no longer be given the authority to make such deals. Do you understand? Yes, Abbot. Brother Stephen shyly and sort of sadly retreats. What about the rest of you? Did either of you two promise such an amount? Both the other abbots just step back. No, Abbot. No, we would never. Brother Stephen, of course, was in the sole authority in this. Stephen looks even more kind of hurt that he's been abandoned at this point, and Brother Hubert just sort of sadly watches him leave, but is in no intention of spending the rest of his life having to copy the same book over and over again. The abbot sighs and approaches Jurgen. You must understand, it is absolutely necessary that we do acquire these specimens for the defense of mankind and protection of the Holy Church. I'm sorry, but I can't pay what he has promised you. Is there something else we can provide for you? I'm, of course, duty-bound to house you, at least while you're here in Aderjaeger.
Adershield.
But I do not have the 100,000 rice gold that he has promised you. Is there something else that we can give you that might satisfy your, well, material needs?
Oh boy.
What is the consecratum?
The abbot just sort of frowns. The consecratum is a special mixture that we have been developing for, well, special research teams. It is incredibly hard to distill, but it produces interesting effects on those capable of surviving its injection.
What sort of interesting effects?
Extreme strength, speed, stamina, minor miracles, the sort.
You're describing magic.
Well, we would think so of well, but apparently, at least according to the guidelines set forth by His Holiness, miracle would be the better choice, much like the elixir is considered a miracle.
And are these effects permanent?
No, well, they do last a lifetime.
A very brief lifetime.
Sadly, we've not been able to find someone strong enough to endure it. It is, well, we've been able to produce about 120 drops of the fluid through distillation, and it's taken about 200,000 gallons of blood to produce that.
Wait, and Elena would kind of prick her ears up. So you're telling me that this is produced using adder blood?
And various other materials, yes. It is not a secret so much as far too dangerous to truly, well, if the guild were to know that such a device or elixir existed, they would jump on the opportunity to use it to better their fees and potentially, in their mind, protect the world from adders, but all of them would die horrible deaths. The first test subject, unfortunately, ended up bending over and breaking his own spine in half before choking to death on his tongue. It was not a very pretty sight, I'm sorry to say.
What makes a man a good candidate for this?
That is where research comes in. Unfortunately, test subjects are surprisingly rare. And we have no need to see more people die, so for now we study its effects on, well, lesser creatures. Rabbits, mostly. They're more flexible. They break their spine less often.
And how have
Well,
your
they-
tests gone on such creatures?
Well, of 3,000 potential test subjects, none of them have survived an hour.
Oh no, bunnies!
Most bashed their own brains in on the bars of their cage. There is apparently a madness that comes with it. It's not dissimilar to what we see in Waldschrat, but it's different. It's a more physical madness.
So here's an alternative. Can you help me and this creature over here stop being addicted to humors?
The abbot's eyes just kind of go wide. Out of character, I'd like to state that stating you're addicted to humors is not a good thing.
Sigmund
You know, I would retract that, but she is still kind of stoned.
and just stares daggers.
Yeah, Jurgen is going to, what do I roll to kill her with my brain?
I mean, that would definitely be a choleric, but
Elena would,
Alright, brain, killing her with my brain.
It,
Oh, I just, no, I
it
don't
would
kill
be
her with my brain.
wise of you to keep this under your hat, given what you've told us so far. It would be a tragedy if this information were to leak to the guild, yes? So I would hope that in return, your confidence can be gained for our condition.
I didn't mean to.
how
her
much
fault.
adder blood have you consumed?
Just one thing for me, and I think she stole some. She's worse than I am.
Elena just licks her lips and looks off to the side.
Yeah, she's worse than I am.
Hey,
Well, I mean, obviously we would need to immediately confine you
By all means, please
For-
do.
for at least 3 years.
Oh,
Well, you can
Hey.
have Elena, but Brita will need to remain free.
I'm
The law is
useful.
quite clear. Addiction to humors or desire is a heretical nature that the best thing I can do is to confine you to protect the world from insanity.
I don't like your answer. Never mind.
Elena just kind of
It's
rubs the bridge
okay.
of her nose.
We'll just not tell anybody that you're killing bunnies, and you'll not tell anyone.
You
that we'll be
misunderstand.
fine. Cold
You
turkey
misunderstand.
in like 2 weeks.
You misunderstand, strange woman. The consecratum is not a secret.
Yeah,
The guild
but you're
knows of
killing
it. They
bunnies.
just don't know that it has any effect.
Oh,
They
we'll
know
tell
that
them
it's
then.
dangerous.
Yeah, we'll tell everybody everything.
Well,
Jurgen
then I'm
is
afraid
just-
I can't let you leave alive.
Brita.
Brita,
Elena just
Guards!
pound. Oh my god.
Jurgen's just gonna go ahead and slap a hand over Brita's mouth. She does not speak for us, and she will not speak for us.
Oops.
I have a proposition for you. In return for not imprisoning the two of us, we will not say a word, but would you be willing to use me as a test subject for the consecratum?
Oh.
Out of character. Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Wait,
Bye,
hang on.
Elena.
If it saves the party and it reduces the hostilities, I don't see another another way out of this. It seems like they're either gonna lock Elena up and she's gonna spend a good portion of her life not doing shit, or this happens.
Like, we haven't explored any options yet, other than
Yeah, we
really
really haven't.
blackmail.
God, you guys just jumped
love all of
right
you.
into this. Oh, good lord.
Hey man, I already had a vestigial organ attack me in the past 2 weeks.
I'm gonna go
I
ahead.
have two, but
Jurgen
you
puts
can
his
use straight
other
left.
hand over Elena's mouth. He's just gonna sit here and silence both the women. He's gonna look the abbot in the eye and just say, hysteria, and nod.
I'm
The
histrionic.
abbot does not seem to be buying it. I'm
It's-
sorry, but you've made. I'm very confused. Who does speak for who?
Zygmunt.
I
Zygmunt is
find
our
that I owe you
Anführer.
at least some kindness, but at the same
Since Zygmunt is
time,
stepping forward, and I'm going to use my passive ability that I have, it basically just has the commanding presence. Like he just seems like he's the one in charge. I am the Iron of this company, and I am the one who has the final say in what we will or will not do.
very well. You understand? I owe you some kindness, and therefore, I have no need to spill blood, and certainly not on these grounds. But what you speak of, what your compatriots have spoken of, is not only dangerous to my order, but truly potentially heretical.
They're both idiots.
Well,
It's true.
obviously, but that doesn't count out the fact of what they've said is obviously a breach before God.
They've lost a lot of blood. We ask for some measure of repaying penance without necessarily sacrificing one's life. And he kind of stares back at Elaine.
We can sacrifice her life if you want.
You're still
I-
muffled. I've still got a hand over your mouth.
Sorry. We can sacrifice her life if you want.
Alright, I'm gonna choke slam Brita into the fucking ground.
Don't mind your
Meanwhile,
just
Zygmunt's trying to have this
suplexing
like
Brita in
calm
the background.
conversation. Yeah, like surely there is some other way we can help out. We have perhaps with more information from our encounter with the Adder or any other questions you may have. about
You Aderjaeger are always problems on my door. Very well, we will not detain you, but I will do my best with God's help and grace to forget what has been said. I
this.
will
If
let
it makes you feel better, you may post men to watch these two.
No, I'm not concerned of that. There's very little direct trouble they could get into here. I'm more worried about Adershield itself. I'm not sure it'll survive those two. Certainly not the pubs.
Elena looks indignant.
I am still muffled. Never mind. There's no dialogue.
I will gladly, as I owe you kindness, allow you to stay here for as long as you are in Adershield. I must ask that you, of course, follow our rules and our orders while within the monastery grounds, however.
Of course.
And that
what-
means no drinking of heretical fluids, no swearing, no this. And he kind of points to Elena and Brita at the same time with a spinning finger.
They
Oh,
will
yeah,
Still
be
kinda
got
like
Jurgen's hand over her mouth, but she like points to her eyes and then points to Elena.
they will be like nuns under my direct supervision.
He kind of crosses himself. I do hope so. Unfortunately, we are bound by law to report those who show signs of addiction or desire to consume.
Or admission of addiction.
No, he didn't say that.
I will, again, with God's grace, attempt to forget what has been said today, only because I owe you a great thanks. Food is served 3 times a day. Unfortunately, it's not. It is a monastic diet. I don't know if it would work with all of you, but certainly you're welcome to partake. Food is quite available in Adershield proper. no matter where you go, you'll find some specialty. We have the benefit of being along the old Roman road, so you have Italian and French and German immigrants to this town, split into the 3 specific quarters. And then, of course, the Order of St. Michael controls the keep on the hill. And he kind of points over his shoulder to a gleaming gold building that stands among the second coil and almost a second height of the wall around it. And standing above that is apparently the top of a cathedral that stands above the wall, and some great fortress extends below it that is not immediately visible. But if you will follow me, I will take you to the rooms and let you rest for today. It's obvious that some of you are more weary than others. May God have mercy on all of you.
The women are not being unmuffled as they walk away.
Yeah.
That hand is staying right over their mouths.
And that's where we're going to call it tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Aderjaeger. Be sure to join us every Monday. We can be brought together to do it. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.